In more tech news, Google's Android is in phones and in stores today. Life is going to change for everyone. Maybe. What is the other app store like, and what else does Android bring? How is Apple going to respond? You guys, we're going to find out right now in The Loop. Joining me from New York to help us make sense of it all, Deputy Editor of Special Projects for Forbes.com and my BFF, it's Loop veteran David Ewalt. How are you, Dave?
I'm doing good, thanks.
That wasn't a crazy bombastic intro, right? Like, everybody's life will forever be changed henceforth because of T-Mobile's G1, right?
I mean, you didn't notice the birds singing today, the flowers everywhere.
Yeah, the grass was definitely a little greener.
3,000 points.
yeah,
absolutely.
The sky was so blue when viewed through the 2-point whatever megapixel camera this thing has, which really isn't its strongest suit. But let's talk about the hardware first, because we've always talked about the phone as its own sort of device and Android, the operating system, as a completely separate beast. So with regard to the hardware, what are your initial impressions?
Well, you know, it's a nice phone, which is about as far as I would go. You know, I played with it some.
It's like you're like a mom talking about a girlfriend that she doesn't really like. Ah, she's nice. She's all right.
Nice. Yeah, she's fine. Don't stick with her, though. That would be the same thing I'd say about the phone. I mean, it's a nice enough phone. If I saw this phone 2 years ago before the iPhone came out, I would have been blown away.
Right.
But now with all the different, with the iPhone and with the other iPhone clones, there's nothing really that revolutionary about it. It's a nice piece of hardware, but there's nothing special about it.
Is there anything that's completely lacking from this, or is it just that because we've had the iPhone for so long and we've had really good BlackBerries that there's just nothing that stands out?
I think that's what it is. I mean, there's things I would improve. The camera's not great. I'm not a big fan of the keyboard. The tactile touch of it doesn't really work for me. But there's nothing really missing. It's just not exceptional.
All right, but now with regard to the operating system, which seems to be the saving grace here, at least from what I'm hearing, what does Android do right?
Well, Android, the thing that hits you first when you start using the phone is the user experience is really good. It's easy to click around, to find your way. If you use any of Google's applications, if you use Calendar or Gmail or Contacts, the integration with those applications is just flawless. It's perfect. So as a device to have in your pocket and to get things done, I think it's going to work really great. Yeah,
but my iPhone crashed this morning when I was trying to make a phone call on it. Did you find that the Android is far more stable? Because in our tests here, we were running applications left and right, and it seemed to be pretty rock solid.
Yeah, I haven't seen any problems with it. I don't hear people crashing. The complaints I hear are, you know, some people say the battery life is a problem, and maybe that's also because, you know, it stays up longer if it doesn't shut down every 2 hours.
Exactly.
It's using up the battery a lot more.
Yeah, my battery's great because I have to shut off all the features and can't do anything on my iPhone. But, you know, Google just released the open source code for the Android this week. How big of a deal is that?
Well, that's huge. I mean, that's really the important thing here. The G phone, this new G1, there's nothing special about this phone. The killer app, the thing that's going to make this big for Google is the operating system being open, people being able to do whatever they want with it, being able to come up with new hacks and new applications and develop whatever programs they want. And that being out in the open is such a contrast to what Apple's doing with the iPhone. And I think that's going to bring in a ton of developers, and it's going to really make a difference.
Right. And I think people are hearing about this, and over the coming weeks and months, and probably by the end of the holiday window, they'll understand that Android is an operating system. That's the killer app here, and that there should be Android phones out from a bunch of different providers and on a, you know, a ton of different hardware manufacturers. How long before you think we start seeing really solid devices from Sprint or from maybe Verizon?
I don't think it's going to be long. I mean, there's already a bunch of them underway. I mean, Motorola is working on an Android phone that's designed to be a social networking phone.
Right.
Which, you know, sort of interesting. Will have links to all the social networks, but also have built-in sort of emphasis on sharing music and pictures and videos and stuff like that. I think, you know, within the next 6 months, you're going to see a lot more Android phones coming out, more announcements about ones on the way, and it's going to blossom very quickly.
All right, so if someone's on the fence about whether or not to take the iPhone 3G plunge or to lean towards Android, what do you recommend right now? Should they hang out, or should they go out and get the G1?
Well, look, if you're a developer, a hacker, or a really big geek, then yeah, go ahead and get this phone because you'll have fun playing with it and experimenting with it. But
what if you're Joe the plumber? Are you grabbing the iPhone?
I think Joe the plumber's grabbing the iPhone, or he may still be using an old Nokia brick. I don't know.
He's angry at the color screen. He just wants lower taxes. All right, David, thank you so much for joining us. Always a pleasure to have you, keeping us in the loop.